Hello from the studio in Nitro, West Virginia. This is Unreasonable Doubt. It's a podcast about West Virginia University basketball. I'm Josh Witt, and NCAA, what are you doing? I like sports as much as the next person. Why do I have to know about legal stuff to enjoy WVU basketball? Why is the court system part of my fandom? I'm asking way too many questions about injunctions and court rulings and so much suing and so much. There's legislation out there with some corny name. It's got an acronym, and I think it solves some things. It probably doesn't solve everything. You know, I've heard people say the NCAA with not grandfathering in their 5 seasons in 5 years rule or whatever it's called, that they're playing chess by not grandfathering in the folks that were in 2022 as a freshman. See, I don't even, like, why am I even, see, I'm falling into the trap. I don't want to talk about that. I have to ask because I want to know, you know what I want to know? Who's on the basketball team? And it's early August and still unclear who's going to be suiting up for West Virginia. In early August, school starts in a couple of weeks. The fall semester starts soon. My assumption is whatever happens in the court legislation, they got to be enrolled to play games in the early part of the season. So that is what I'm holding on to as a fan, is that all this stuff gets cleared up by the time school starts, one way or the other. Would I want Brendan Lorient to fill the last roster spot and Jamin Buchanan have eligibility? Yes. If I find out that they don't, while that stinks, at least we know. But we don't know. And judges can say stuff. It's just a hot mess. But I did talk to somebody this week about this stuff a little bit. My guest this week, Schuyler Callihan. He writes for West Virginia on SI. First-time guest. Here's my interview with Schuyler Callihan. All right, Schuyler Callihan, welcome to Unreasonable Doubt, a podcast about West Virginia University basketball.
I appreciate it, Josh. It's been a while. I know we've kind of talked back and forth over the years, and now we finally get to hop on here. So I'm glad to be here.
You've been covering and podcasting WVU sports for a while now. You mentioned it. We've been talking for a while on and off. Do you have a favorite between writing and podcasting?
Oh, that's a good question. I think there's different seasons to it. Certainly, I think during the season, I'd much rather talk football and talk basketball. When it's the off season, probably not as much. I think it's a little bit easier to do it the other way around. But when you're in the season, there's so much stuff to write about, and you feel like you never have enough time. I mean, most of my days during football, are probably like 12, 14-hour days just trying to get everything together. But talking's easy, right? You just hop on, flip on the camera, hit record, and just go. But when it gets to the off season, man, it's a grind for sure. But I love it. I wouldn't want to do anything else. Hard to believe. I think this will be my 11th year for the covering football team. So it's been a long time.
Awesome. And it sounds like you still enjoy it. And I looked at your X feed today. There's like 6 or 7 stories just today on WVU Sports. You also cover the Charlotte Hornets for Sports Illustrated. What are the similarities with covering or with a college sports fan base and an NBA team fan base? Are there similarities?
That's even a better question. I think there's very finite similarities in that there's passion that comes in droves. Like, for instance, Charlotte's obviously been deep in the basement for a long, long time. They've been irrelevant for a long, long time. But you still have those hardcore fans, and I think that part of the fan base is very similar to West Virginia's hardcore fans, believe it or not, because the people in Charlotte, they crave a winning basketball team so bad, and really just winning anything. I mean, the Panthers, you can lump them in there too, and I covered them for a handful of years, and it's kind of the same deal. They just want a winner so bad, and I would say that part of it is, but I don't think the passion goes nearly as deep with the rest of the fan base as it does with West Virginia. Like, there's so many games, Josh. I show up to the arena and there's more Clipper fans at the game than there are Hornets fans or Portland Trailblazer fans. I mean, we're not even talking the big markets. We're talking all the way out west on the Pacific Coast that are not very good, and they're drawing more people in Charlotte. But West Virginia, obviously, you don't get that. It's true passion. It's everybody's a mountaineer. That's the one thing that separates them from really the Hornets and really just about anybody else in college sports.
That makes sense. And I wondered if there was. So you've got the diehards everywhere.
Yeah.
The percentage may be different, especially with college and alumni fan bases. So let's talk about WVU basketball. We're in early August, and the rosters still are in flux. With
Yeah.
Javen Buchanan, Brennan Lorient, they filed a lawsuit for a fifth year of eligibility this week in U.S. Circuit Court in West Virginia. We had this recent ruling in Colorado that seems to open up a fifth year, but NCAA is going to fight that. There's legislation in Washington that they're trying to push through, may or may not happen. Complete dumpster fire, right? I don't think that's not sugarcoating it. Do
No.
you have a feel for how things are going to shake out, specifically basketball wise for Lorient and Buchanan?
Yeah. I mean, I don't think it's necessarily insider insight here, but I think it's just kind of a hunch feeling that I think a lot of people share is that the NCAA kind of screwed themselves in this whole situation when they made the new eligibility rules what they are and not allowing that to happen for the 2022 class, because you look at every class after that, they're going to get the fifth year. You go to the few classes before that, they either got a COVID year or a JUCO year back. You had some guys getting D2s or NAIA years back, guys that had sixth, seventh, eighth years because of medical injuries. There was just a whole bunch of reasons, right? So to kind of single out the 2022 class was kind of an eyebrow raiser for me, and I think a lot of people. And I just don't see that this is going to be something that the NCAA wins. And they don't win very often in these cases. And I think it was smart, though, by Brennan Lorient and Javen Buchanan to take this on their own. They could have just said, the thing in Colorado is well underway and it'll probably end up going their way anyways. But if it doesn't and that ruling gets overturned, then all of a sudden they're done. Like, they're out. So to go and take this to the district court in West Virginia makes a ton of sense, because regardless of what happens there, from my understanding, I'm not a legal expert by any means, but from my understanding, I think that if they get the court to side on their favor, they're good to go. So it's kind of like an in case type of scenario if the Colorado thing doesn't work out.
Yeah. It's interesting on the timing because that's always been available to them to go to the courts. And yet it
Yeah.
happens after this Colorado um, injunction last week. So it's just interesting why the timing of these things, when they happen versus when they don't, what they were waiting on. Hodge even seemed reluctant to talk about Buchanan not being able to get the waiver.
Yeah.
So it's just real interesting, the timing of it, Schuyler, isn't it?
Yeah, it definitely is. And I mean, you almost had to kind of pry it out of him. I mean, it was
Right.
like three different questions about Javen, and eventually he was like, oh, yeah, well, the waiver was, it was denied. But
Why do you think he handled it that way? I don't think there's anything malicious there, but it did stand out when
yeah,
you watched the press conference.
I think if I just had to guess, I think it was just trying to make sure that he didn't say something that he wasn't supposed to, even if it wasn't about the NCAA, whether it was their plans to go to court or whatever the case may be. But it was definitely odd. I thought he would have, nope, it got denied. We're moving on to the next steps. But it is crazy how this is all working out. And I think that he is on the right track, though, when you see some of these other cases going around the country. If you are a true 5 for 5 guy, you're more than likely going to win that battle. And it's
Right.
when you start getting the sixth, seventh, eighth years is where it's a little hairy. But you're right with the timing. Like for football, I mean, it's so far from ideal because you are literally right at the start of camp. This could have been done months ago, and had a much better chance. For basketball, it's not necessarily ideal either because I mean, even though you're still months away from the season, you've just had a full summer where these guys are now practicing together in the summer.
Right.
So you missed out on that opportunity. I don't think it's as big of a deal. So if this goes through, I mean, Javen did practice with WVU so far, so that's good. Brennan has not practiced, but with Belo's experience in this system and being with Ross Hodge, I don't think that's really a huge deal. You just want to hope that he can get in there at a decent amount of time to get his legs under him, get conditioned to be able to go for that first game if possible.
Sure. And the stipulation of the curveball that Laureate could enter the transfer portal. So lots to
Yeah.
happen. We'll see how it shakes out. I'll actually ask you a basketball question now instead of having you put your legal hat on. At Ross Hodges' summer press conference last week, he talked about how the offensive tempo should pick up with the guys they brought in. And you can sense it's Miles Sadler is who he's talking about the most there,
Yeah.
but some of the other guys too. Hodges' teams at North Texas and his team at WVU all at the bottom of the tempo rankings in D1 basketball. When he says it'll pick up, how much do you think we'll see that difference offensively if they pick up the pace this season compared to last year?
Yeah, I think it'll be pretty noticeable. I don't know how soon it will be though, because if you really think about it, you don't want everybody to just go running up and down the floor when they're all new together. First of all, and then you also have a true freshman, even though he's extremely talented. You don't want your true freshman going 100 miles an hour, right? So you want to make sure that he's playing within himself, playing within the system. I do think it's going to be a noticeable difference, though, because also while Miles Sadler is a huge part of that tempo kicking up, you're also getting guys that can run the floor better, like Mo Silla and even the other bigs, Amadou Sini and Alou Diom and Joe Sansanin. And I mean, there's just so many guys that can actually run up and down the floor. Last year, I mean, let's be honest here. Like, with all due respect to Harlan Obioha, he's not going to get up the floor in a hurry, in a blink of an eye, right? So you needed to get up there, waste some time for him to get into position. And Jasper was a huge part of that too. He was, again, Ross joked about it several times. Like, you couldn't motivate him to go faster, right?
Right.
Whether it was just basketball or life, he just operates that slowly. But yeah, I don't think it's going to be like press Virginia up and down by any means, but it's going to be a little bit faster than people expect. I think we all look at the tempo numbers, the possessions per game, the shots per game, whether it was at North Texas or last year, and just assume it's always going to be like that. Well, I would argue he really hasn't had the athletes at either North Texas or last year at WVU to be able to run a faster offense, even though they're still going to sit down in the half court and run some clock here and there, especially to help out their defense.
Yeah, and I don't see the defense changing. It feels like
Yeah.
that's going to remain a constant, which is make them run a lot of clock. Um, but offensively, it will be interesting. Yeah, they're not going to be Alabama, but I'm
No,
interested
no.
to see what kind of jump it will be. And I agree, it should be noticeable. Lots of talk about Sadler, Bizjack, a lot of the guys that have come in. Projected bench players, Schuyler. What projected bench player for WVU do you think will have the biggest impact for the team this season? If you had to guess.
That is really, really tough. I think you could go a couple different ways here. Obviously, it also depends too as to what happens with Belo and Javen,
Sure.
and how that shakes things out. But I like Seydou Traore if he doesn't start. I think there's a case and there's a world where he may start just because of his defensive prowess. But man, he is super athletic and super rangy, super long. We saw what he did against West Virginia against Honor Huff at the end of that game, affected that shot right in front of Ross Hodge. And I wouldn't be surprised if he put that in the memory bank
Sure.
before the offseason if he hopped in the portal. But Seydou for sure. And then I'd probably say, too, man, I'm hearing a lot of good things about Cini. like a
Mm,
lot of really good things about Amadou Sini. And when he first committed, I was like, it might be a year or two before he really gets going because he's a raw prospect. He's still early into this. A little bit of a late bloomer in the recruiting world, but he is just a freak athlete. He gets up and down the floor. He does everything you need him to. You may not want him to put the ball on the deck very much, but he can do everything else. Block shots, be a presence at the rim, make shots from inside the paint. I love Sini's ability. I think he's going to make an impact year one.
big rebound numbers for him. I didn't watch
Oh
a
yeah.
ton of the Bella Vista, but just looking at the stat lines, he just grabbed all the rebounds, it seemed like. And so that athleticism, that's really intriguing. English is coming along, I guess. It's definitely not his first language.
Yeah.
Definitely, I mean, with everything like that, it's a learning curve for freshmen, but especially in his situation, you talked about late bloomer, that all makes sense. And that leads into one of my questions. We're running into the speed round, Schuyler. August prediction speed round between Lorient and Javen. Will both, one, or neither play for WVU this season?
Ooh. Ooh. I My gut has been telling me they both play, but for maybe some reason I'm just going to be a little conservative and just say one. I don't know which one, but I'll be a little conservative here. So
I
I'll go
won't
one.
make you pick. Will Amir Jenkins get on the floor for more than half of WVU's games this season?
Yes, I think it's yeah.
And that way, like, question was asked about his recovery. Sounds like he's had both surgeries, but as far as a timetable, didn't really get into that. I guess we'll know more the closer we get to the season. You talked about Saney. How many freshmen on the roster do you think will play rotation minutes in Big 12 play this season?
Ooh, okay. So we got Sadler for sure.
Sadler for sure.
We got Seni's in the mix, and oh
We got a
man,
walk on. We got Gray Bear and we got Diome.
I love Diome. I don't know if he'll be in the rotation. Gray Bear, I think's got a chance because of the backcourt numbers. I'll go. We'll go three.
I would three. I think the line's 2.5, right? Because Hodge
Yeah,
does not play a deep bench, but maybe he changes that this year. If the
especially
tempo
if you're running.
increases, then maybe he stretches the bench a little bit. Who do you think will lead the WVU bigs in scoring this season?
Mm. If we're operating under the assumption that Belo is back
Mm-hmm.
and we're talking the entire front court, I'll go Belo. If not, I think it'll be Silla.
That question really depends on if Belo
Yeah.
or Buchanan come. Will WVU win their second game in a row in Fog Allen this season? Can we get a 2-game winning streak in the Fog
Man,
after
wouldn't that
never
be
winning there?
wouldn't that be something? I mean, especially for Hugs too. All those freaking years that he came so close and had double digit leads with like 2 minutes left, never got it done, and then all of a sudden, bang, they get a win. Um, I'm going to say no. I think Kansas is going to be pretty good this year. I mean, as they always are, but I think they're gonna bounce back. They weren't as good as I think a lot of people expected them to be, and it's tough to win. It's tough to win in that place, and to do it twice in a row, probably not. But I mean, let's be honest. This team's probably more talented than the one that actually went in there and won a couple of years ago.
You could make that case. I would love to see that come true. Will WVU get their first ever basketball win over the Houston Cougars this season?
Mm. I hate to be that guy, but no. I think they're getting closer. They're getting closer because we all know Ross Hodge and Kelvin Sampson. They're pretty much cut from the same cloth. But I think it's going to take maybe one more recruiting class, and then that'll happen.
I mean, that's Hodges' benchmark. That's what he came in talking
Yes.
about. We want to be like Houston. So that to beat them in year two would be a tall order. It's a tall order for anybody to beat
Yeah.
Houston since they've been in the Big 12. Last question, Skylar. Do you think WVU, I'm asking you in early August, will they make the NCAA tournament without needing the play in game? Will they make the NCAA tournament and play in the play in game? Or will they miss the NCAA tournament this season? Those are the three options. What do you think will happen?
I say they make it and don't need the play in. I think they just sneak in on the better side of the bubble. I think the strength of schedule obviously is just insane out of conference, and you already know what it is in the league. If you can steal a couple of those games, obviously you have to beat Pitt. I mean, that's number one. But if you can beat Wake Forest, I think you almost have to. I don't know how good they're going to be, but if you can beat North Carolina, which would be a massive if, but they're in first year for year one as well, or well, they are not West Virginia, but they're in year one. You have a chance to win that one on a neutral floor, and then if you win a game in the Players Era tournament, I mean, things are looking pretty good for your resume, and you haven't even got the Big 12 play yet. So I think they will just because of that strength of schedule and those early opportunities.
I mean, outside of the Pitt game last year, every Power 5 game was
Oh,
bad in the non-conference,
yeah.
and various ways of either blowing it or just off
Yeah.
night. Eagle staff didn't score against Wake Forest and Charleston. Just wild stuff.
The
Overtime
Ohio
game
State
versus
one
Ohio
really
State.
stung.
Yep. So hopefully the basketball gods flip it a little bit. Not that we have to win all the games, but that's reasonable. Come out
Yeah.
of Las Vegas with the win. Try to get Wake Forest and Greensboro payback. And even if you do that, that's 2 more and beat Pitt. That's 3 wins versus the only win versus Pitt last season. Always beat Pitt. Schuyler, I appreciate the time. Thanks for talking to me about WVU basketball on Unreasonable Doubt.
Absolutely, brother. Appreciate it and glad to have to be on here and hope to do it again in the future.
Unreasonable Doubt is now under the old gold and blue umbrella. New umbrella. The guys who are behind smokingmusket.com have gone independent, and they're at oldgoldandblue.com. I'm looking at it right now, oldgoldandblue.com. I see Jordan Pinto's position previews. Football season's coming up. Do you want a quarterback position preview? You do. Running backs position preview? You want it. We got it. Same people, new adventure. The Discord is now the old Gold and Blue Discord. Check out the link in the show notes. Check out West by Pod, a podcast about WVU football with Joel and Jordan. Check that out wherever you listen to podcasts. The X feed, other social media. You'll find us at Old Gold and Blue. Oldgoldandblue.com. OldGoldandBlue.com. Big thanks to Schuyler for joining me on the podcast. You can find him on X at Callihan _CALLIHAN_. That's it for this episode of Unreasonable Doubt. Listen on all the platforms, or just pick one: Apple Podcasts, Overcast Podcasts, Spotify Podcasts, Amazon Podcasts, YouTube. Until next time, I'm Josh with WVU for the 2026-2027 season. They have 0 wins and they have 0 losses.